all fronts. It's Wednesday night, rainy night, and we're feeling sheltered in. We're gonna do some things tonight, people. It is open mic night tonight, and the focus is on the CIA. It's on the CIA, people. CARICOM investment and armed defense. And if you've been paying attention, and if you see anything, if you've been paying attention in this morning's newspaper, no sign of CARICOM awareness efforts. No sign of CARICOM awareness efforts. And we're going to have some conversation. You know the number, 297-1027, 297-1027. Overseas, 888-257-9086. We're going to be doing that. We got Lady Kim in studio assisting us this evening. And let me just say, people, this is a very contentious global subject. Let me just put it in that context. Because if you are paying attention, you see, this is global, this is geopolitics 101 for you tonight. Because we may be out here in the North Atlantic, you know, some say the North Atlantic. We may be out here, however, full membership or partial membership into CARICOM, still, let me just say, we are somewhat co-conspirators or co-partners in what we see taking place right now in the Caribbean Sea. And that is, of course, with the 12,000 plus U.S. military presence in the Caribbean Sea. Look, whether the Caribbean wants to or not, and they don't want to, as a zone of peace, quote unquote. They see themselves, our Caribbean brothers and sisters see themselves as a zone of peace. However, there is division in CARICOM right now because Trinidad sees it differently. And the Prime Minister, Kamala Prasad Bisia, I believe is the last pronunciation. And my Trini population, you can correct me on the pronunciation, but Kamala Prasad, she is taking a different route. While the majority of that 15-member full nation of CARICOM do not support U.S. military presence. As a matter of fact, Prime Minister of Barbados made it very clear that she gave an alert in an early address months ago that the Caribbean now warrant full attention, because whether you want to or not, you're being pulled into a military action. And while there are statements being made that this is for the eradication and the elimination of drugs, I'm sure you are more sensible than that, people. If you read this, read between the lines. Yeah, we've seen this picture before. You know, we've seen this picture before. It's always, you know, we always put drugs on the Caribbean, Central America, and everywhere else. You know, Colombia. You can all say it's drugs, but hey, this is all about the oil. This is all about the oil. And so what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to share with you a series of clips. I'm going to start off with a clip to place some things into context. An excerpt of a very bold political statement that places some things in context about what we are bearing witness to in the Caribbean with the American presence, and of course the presence of the United States also in Trinidad and Tobago, right? With the installation of a U.S. military radar facility. Now, of course, this has stoked a lot of fears. Like I said, that the Caribbean could be drawn into the escalating crisis that is between the U.S. and Venezuela. And so we know how this goes. If it's in your backyard, people, it's in your house. Right? So it's in the yard of folk of the Caribbean. And as that is going on, Venezuela also has some support. And we're going to hear some more about that too. Because the Russians are coming to the support of Venezuela. So are we bearing witness to the first act of war? Are we bearing witness to that? Some will say it's a blockade, but hey, it's a war act all the same. CARICOM, an investment. And what is the investment? Well, hey, for who? We're talking about an investment of lives. We're talking about investment in oil, because that's what it's about. And when we're talking about armed, 12,000 military, Army, Navy, Marines. Yeah. It means Air Force. Well, you got, Air Force, they're present also. The whole shebang is present in the Caribbean Sea. And so we want to hear from you. But as we want to hear from you, we want you to think of this here. Because we've been wrestling with, when I say we, yes, it's the collective we in Bermuda. We have been wrestling with, do we become full-time members? And with all this activity going on in the Caribbean right now, do we want to become full-time members? Full-time, part-time members, we're going to be pulled into something. This is almost what we see and bearing witness to. Is this the Caribbean's example or response or answer to Brexit? I mean, we saw the partnership in terms of the UK bailing out of Brexit, and we see what has been some of the fallout as a result of that. Do we, this is the question I want everyone to ponder, do we need to have a referendum on CARICOM? And there's enough that's been written. I want you to think of that question as we listen to some of the things I'm going to share here tonight, starting this off. Let's listen to this clip. I see you calling in right away, but let's listen to this clip first, and then I'm going to pull you in, callers. Let's answer that question. Listen up to this here. Let's play some things in context of what's happening in the Caribbean Sea, what's happening with Venezuela, and what does it mean for, yes, Bermuda, because we are a part of this geopolitics also. Listen up.
The United States has deployed over 12,000 troops on nearly a dozen naval vessels to Venezuelan waters. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, arrived in the Caribbean Sea on November 15th. This isn't a show of force. This is a blockade in everything but name. And blockades have one purpose: economic strangulation. Now, why does this matter? Venezuela sits on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. We're talking about 303.8 billion barrels. That's more than Saudi Arabia, more than Canada, more than Russia. And for context, that represents roughly 18% of global proven reserves. But here's where it gets interesting from an economic standpoint. Venezuela's oil production has collapsed from 3.5 million barrels per day in the late 1990s to barely 700,000 barrels per day today. That's an 80% decline in production capacity. The Trump administration just terminated Chevron's permit to export Venezuelan oil on November 24th, 2025. This was the last remaining legal channel for Venezuelan crude to reach international markets. Chevron had been the lifeline, keeping what remained of Venezuela's oil infrastructure operational. Without their technical expertise and capital investment, we're looking at further production declines of potentially 30 to 40% within the next 12 months. But Trump didn't stop there. He imposed a 25% tariff on all goods imported from any country that imports Venezuelan oil. Think about the implications of that for a moment. This isn't just sanctioning Venezuela. This is sanctioning anyone who does business with Venezuela. India and China have been the primary buyers of Venezuelan crude in recent years, taking advantage of steep discounts. India was importing roughly 200,000 barrels per day of Venezuelan oil. China was taking even more, around 400,000 barrels daily. Now, here's where the economic dominoes start falling. India relies on imported oil for 85% of its consumption. Chinese demand for oil sits at roughly 15 million barrels per day, with domestic production covering only about 4 million. Both economies are heavily dependent on affordable energy imports to maintain their manufacturing competitiveness. If they comply with American pressure and stop buying Venezuelan oil, they need to find alternative suppliers. That means bidding up prices in an already tight global oil market. If they don't comply and continue purchasing Venezuelan crude, they face a 25% tariff on all exports to the United States. For India, the US represents roughly 18% of total exports, worth over $78 billion annually. For China, we are talking about 16% of exports, valued at more than $500 billion. The economic calculus here is brutal. Either accept higher energy costs that reduce manufacturing competitiveness, or accept massive tariffs that price you out of the American market. This is economic warfare at a scale we haven't seen since the 1970s oil embargo. And it's happening right now. Let's talk about what this means for global oil prices. Brent crude is currently trading around $87 per barrel. West Texas Intermediate is at $83. These prices reflect a market that's already relatively tight. Global spare capacity, the amount of oil that can be brought online within 30 days and sustained for 90 days, currently sits at around 3 million barrels per day. That's roughly 3% of global demand. Historically, when spare capacity falls below 5%, we see significant price volatility. If Venezuelan production drops another 300,000 barrels per day due to the loss of Chevron's technical support and expertise, and if India and China are forced to compete for alternative supplies, we could easily see oil prices spike to $120 to $140 per barrel within 6 to 9 months. Every $10 increase in oil prices reduces global GDP growth by approximately 0.2 percentage points. A sustained move to $130 oil would shave nearly 1 full percentage point off global growth. For the United States specifically, higher oil prices act as a massive regressive tax on consumers. Every 1 cent increase in gasoline prices represents roughly $1.4 billion in additional annual consumer spending on fuel. If we're looking at crude oil moving from $80 to $130 per barrel, retail gasoline prices could jump from the current national average of $3.30 per gallon to somewhere north of $5 per gallon. That's an additional $250 to $300 billion coming out of American consumer spending on gasoline alone. But energy prices are just the beginning. Let's examine what happens when you deploy 12,000 troops and the carrier strike group indefinitely to the Caribbean. The operational cost of running a carrier strike group is roughly $6.5 million per day. That's $2.4 billion per year just for the fourth strike group. But we're not talking about one carrier. The US has deployed nearly a dozen naval vessels to the region. The total cost of this military deployment is likely running between $8 and $10 million per day, or roughly $3 billion annually if sustained. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Russia. On October 27th, 2025, Putin ratified a strategic partnership treaty with Venezuela. This isn't just diplomatic posturing. Russian lawmakers have stated explicitly that there are no obstacles to providing Oreshnik or Kalibr missiles to Venezuela. The Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile has a reported maximum range of about 3,400 miles. That's enough to reach most of the continental United States from Venezuelan territory. Why would Russia take this risk? Because Venezuela represents a strategic economic asset in Russia's broader confrontation with the West. Russian oil exports have already been heavily sanctioned since the invasion of Ukraine. Urals crude, the Russian benchmark, has been trading at significant discounts to Brent, typically $15 to $20 per barrel below international prices. Russia has been forced to redirect its oil exports almost entirely to Asia, particularly India and China. If the United States successfully chokes off Venezuelan oil supplies and forces India and China to find alternatives, Russia becomes one of the most logical suppliers to fill that gap. Despite sanctions, Russian oil production has remained relatively stable at around 9.5 million barrels per day. They have the capacity to increase exports if there's demand. By supporting Venezuela militarily, Russia accomplishes multiple objectives simultaneously. First, it ties down American military resources in the Western Hemisphere. Second, it creates leverage in ongoing negotiations over Ukraine. Third, it positions Russia as a critical energy supplier to the world's largest growth markets. Think about this from China's perspective. China imported roughly 11 million barrels per day of crude oil in 2024. They've been diversifying away from Middle Eastern suppliers for years, increasing purchases from Russia, Venezuela, Iran, and other sanctioned producers. Why? Because sanctioned oil comes with steep discounts. Venezuelan crude has been selling for $30 to $40 per barrel below Brent prices. That's a savings of roughly $150 million per day for China on the 400,000 barrels they've been importing from Venezuela. But there's a deeper strategic consideration. China holds over $800 billion in US Treasury securities. If the United States imposes a 25% tariff on all Chinese goods because China continues buying Venezuelan oil, what's China's response? They could dump treasuries, driving up US borrowing costs. They could devalue the yuan, making their exports more competitive despite tariffs. They could accelerate the internationalization of the yuan as an alternative to dollar-based trade. This last point is crucial. For decades, oil has been priced and traded primarily in US dollars. This gives the United States enormous structural power in the global economy. Countries need dollars to buy oil, which means they need to hold dollar reserves, which means they buy US Treasury securities, which allows the US to run massive deficits without facing the same constraints other countries would face. But what happens, what we're witnessing right now...
All right. That places into context in terms of what I can't say the Caribbean has bought into, but certainly what Trinidad and Tobago have bought into. The rest of the Caribbean, CARICOM, are going to be and are drawn into whether they want to be there or not. So what does that mean then for a little Bermuda who also is very significantly and strategically placed in this theater of economic warfare, right? What does it mean for us? Well, if you read the article in this morning's newspaper, it places some things in context that has us in the Bermuda. There's a new Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda, the Caribbean, and of course, the United States in this economic warfare that we're about to see unfold. So I want to hear from you, the audience. The lines are lighting up. Do we need a referendum of full membership? What are the benefits to Bermuda's people? Good night, you're on all fronts. Good night. Good night. Oh, well, lost you. Call back. So when we place this and we look at this particular issue, there was something. Oh, just a moment. Good night, you on all fronts.
Hi, Dr. Lou.
Yes. Good evening.
A feedback from me?
No feedback at all.
Okay.
Yours clear.
Okay, tell me. I'm just saying, listen to that man and all the countries that he said will probably get involved in this.
That are involved, without a doubt.
That are, yeah. And all we're talking about is saying billions.
Oh,
it's all about money.
It's the bottom line.
About money.
Yeah.
And the point is, I would think if we need to talk about the CARICOM, and the next thing we may have to do is to have a referendum. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that some will say yes and some will say no.
Right.
But we need to do what's good for this precious little island here.
Yeah.
Because we
go ahead.
You know, because we all will affect our fuel and all that is going up enough. And if this affects a fuel and things that we have in this country, my God, we need to do something. But that's all I'm going to say. But I said it's all about money as far as I'm concerned.
Bottom line is all about the money, people. OPM.
All right. Have a great night.
Thank you for sharing.
Bye.
Yeah. And so, yes, it is all about the money. Look, what we see going on in this theater of warfare has very little to do with drugs, people. Has everything to do with what we just heard. This is about oil. And I'm going to share another clip that also expounds upon some of the statements even that the caller just made. But let's take some calls. Good night, caller. You're on all fronts.
Good evening, Dr. Lou.
Good evening, sir.
Is it exclusively just for CARICOM or other things as well?
Well, we're focusing on the CARICOM issue, CARICOM investment and armed defense, and like I said, when we look at the subject matter that's in this morning's paper, no sign of CARICOM awareness efforts. And still people contemplating. I know there was supposed to be some consultation. So we want to have some conversation about this here. I'll say this here. I will say this here. When we talk about this conversation of CARICOM and the geopolitics of it, it raises also a lot of unfinished things or subject matter that we started. For example, the sovereignty report that we did, that was done. That's believe it or not, that's connected to this issue also. But we go sleep on things, and because we haven't heard much about it, we think it's not connected. And I know one of your favorite conversations is around independence. It's connected to that also. But when you listen to this particular issue, if you read the article in this morning's paper, right, it is clear that nothing when it comes to Bermuda's national security is done without the British government. So go ahead. It's you have something else you want to share, but can you put it in the context?
Right. My view is well, yes, I desire that we go for independence. I know the CARICOM view is that everybody together to go for reparations, and maybe we go from being an associate member to being a full member. But I'm totally against CARICOM for a number of reasons.
What's your reasons?
We do not have enough space on this island for these people to come to this island to live and work.
In other words, you want to know more about the free movement that was spoken about in this here.
I don't really need to know about it. I just don't want them here.
Okay.
I don't want all those people here. We do not have the room for them. I mean, when you're going to work mornings, you probably notice it. The traffic on Bermuda is like back up in the United States. It's back right up. It's no room. We need houses. We've got 350 families waiting for housing. So where you can put these people?
Right.
The Chamber of Commerce was talking about, we need to bring more people here to work in the hotels. Where you can put them? Where they can live?
Well, we certainly need. We're rebuilding hotels, so we're going to need some place to put people who come here to work with the people who already live here.
But we don't have any space for the locals. And all we keep doing is we keep looking after foreigners and not taking care of our own people. That's why all people are leaving the island. You see, I have a couple of beefs with the West Indian communities.
All right.
Let me just go back a little bit. When we had pathways to status, right? The West Indian community said they supported it. So the Royal Gazette went to them and said, "Oh, you support this?" And they refused to give a statement. But later on, I don't know if they had the pathways to status meetings at Elliott School. You remember that?
I remember.
Right. I went to those meetings, and the West Indian community, the people there, they carried on really bad.
In what way?
They called the black Bermudians, they called us all types of names at that meeting. They called us racist. They said we were discriminating against them. We weren't going to allow them to have status. But we tried to explain to them, in your country, you will not allow people to have wholesale status in your country. You will never allow that. But you want to have it in Bermuda, but you would not allow it in your country. And they carried on really bad at those meetings, calling us all types of names. So they're not a very good people. They're not nice people. Now one other point. I've been watching the hurricanes for the past 35 years. Bermudian people are very charitable people.
You're right. Go ahead.
Sometimes they seem like they give their last away. Then there's West Indian Islands. A lot of them have had hurricanes that caused devastation. Bermudians have gone and sent money, food, clothing.
And we still are. And we're still doing so. It's our charitable nature.
Right. And then Bermuda has a hurricane, and not everybody can afford to repair the houses. Not everybody can afford these high insurance rates. The West Indian community, they have never, ever given us not one red cent, not one slice of bread, or no clothing, no nothing. And I've been watching it over 35 years. They've never done anything. Now they tried to bring up the excuse about, we sent electricians. Well, those electricians came here and they were paid. I'm talking about charity. Those people have never given this island any charity. They just take. And they're only looking for the opportunity to get their foot in this island, to take more, make money. When they get round to retirement age, they pack up and leave and they go back home. They're just useless. Wherever these people go, lots of times, they cause trouble. They cause a lot of trouble in the United States, and they kicked a lot of them out, especially those Jamaicans out of Queens and Jamaica. Kicked them out. But I don't want those people here.
Well, you don't want the people here, and it's your hold on.
I don't want them.
And you don't want them here, and you don't want CARICOM.
No,
you don't want Bermuda to have full membership in CARICOM. We already have associate membership.
No.
And so I want to place in context your argument before I take the next caller. You don't want Bermuda to have full membership chiefly because of, one, as you've made the argument, members of that community in Bermuda take more than they give to Bermuda. And that's your position. Two,
and the behavior.
Their behavior. Three, you're saying also we don't have the room. We don't have the room. So the free movement that is being spoken to in this context, we don't have the room to accommodate in terms of housing in Bermuda.
Driving on the road.
All right. Well, housing, transportation, all of the above, they all go together.
Yes.
All right. Exactly. You put your argument there, and the lines are lighting up. You've triggered some things. Let's see what some people have to say. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And that's what we do on all fronts. The gentleman's entitled to his position. Some of you may have a counter response. Good night, you on all fronts.
Yeah. Well, good evening, Brother Lou.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening to the wonderful people of Bermuda. I think it's a bit harsh what the gentleman was saying about friends and family.
And family, yeah. But like I said, it's his position.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's a bit harsh because you can't say they're not good people. I can't go with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be careful about these things. We got a lot of people here from all around the world.
Exactly. As we have many Bermudians all around the world.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I understand this point to a certain point, but I'm not one to label people as not good people.
Yeah.
We have a lot of connections, family-wise, and everything to the Caribbean. Now, when it comes to
go ahead.
When it comes to CARICOM, I don't mind the connection. Obviously, we have a connection with them. Sports is probably the biggest thing, and we just saw what happened there in our qualification efforts.
Yeah,
with our Caribbean brothers.
There's no dismissing the cultural connection of us,
right?
Right. And
I agree.
Like I said, I don't react to many of the sentiments that the caller makes about these things because we can make an argument, qualify our argument with clear evidence that speaks to differ with his argument. You see what I'm saying?
Agree.
Yeah. So, and you started out very well by saying most of us have our Caribbean family.
And so I always say after everybody makes their distinctions and they qualify the arguments, where do we draw the line then? Because everybody says, we're not in the Caribbean, we're way up here, up north, off of the coast of Carolina, which is true.
Yeah.
So where is the line then?
But the line, let me just ask you this here, because you make a good point with that. People ask that, where's the line? But I say it again. We have to understand our geopolitics. Right? We're out here, yes, in the North Atlantic, people, but let's be real. Let's be real. Right. You're out here by yourself, but you're not by yourself.
No, we're not.
In the global context of things. And even with this scenario, this example of what we're talking about, with in terms of the U.S. presence in the Caribbean Sea, right? And the attack on Venezuela, because it is an attack. Right. It is also an attack. I mean, Trinidad have sided with America, knowing also a number of its own citizens. I think 80 or so of its own citizens have been killed. Right. In these bombings of these boats, so-called drug boats. Right.
Yeah.
So we're not oblivious to this, nor are we absent from the reality of the economic warfare. But as it is, when you look at what it says in today's paper, whatever decision that's going to be made, we're talking that there, we put the question there. I think Fahey was one of the persons that put it out there about a referendum, and previous governments and other persons have spoken about referendum, PLP side also in the streets. But be that what it is, the government has already made it clear that they are seeking consultation. Now, in this consultation that I see spoken to in this morning's newspaper, it's clear that if a referendum, and we saw again, I got to give it, July 14th, the premier at the time refused to be drawn on a CARICOM referendum, according to the Royal Gazette, in that segment in July 14th, because there's going to be consultation with UK government first and the governor, because you're talking Bermuda national security, and you know the governor.
That's right.
Well, he is the point person for the UK government.
That's what
when it comes to Bermuda national security. So there's going to be consultation with UK government first. With anything moving Bermuda toward any full membership with CARICOM, especially with what we see going on with the United States now with its presence in the Caribbean. And we all know that the UK government is the bedfellow with America.
But the thing about it is, the premier just came back from England where he met with all these dignitaries, and he said as such, whether it's our passport, whether it's the cannabis situation, right? All of these things, we can't determine that.
No, we don't. Welcome to the colony. That's loud and clear. I mean, I read this article, when I read this morning's paper, look, people, you're a damn colony. You are a colony, and this is very clear. You're not going to make this decision independently.
And you've read the article, I have not, but we came to the same conclusion. I mean, anybody that grows up in Bermuda knows from a very young age that we're under this British rule, you know, and I don't care how many different governors they send us throughout the years and decades, it's the same position that they take in regards to us.
Yeah.
You understand? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, one name about me, Babalu, I'm not want to take up all your time, and all the people call it, but like you said, I'm going back to my first point.
Right.
We have family deep into the Caribbean. And people of Bermuda, don't be too quick to jump and disregard our wonderful people, you know, in the Caribbean.
Look,
that's my point.
And I appreciate you sharing that. Thanks a lot. Let me take next caller.
Thank you too, brother.
Yeah.
All the best.
Yes, sir. Please hold, caller. Let me just say something about what the caller just said too, you know, which is very important. I mean, we hear these things, and I don't dismiss what the previous caller said about what was said at where was it? At Elliott. I don't dismiss that. Of course, you know, we have grown up to hear statements about us in Bermuda, but I make this very clear to people all the time, right? Bermuda will always be a place that people will come to kickstart and get started with their living.
Yeah, Dr.
Right?
Lou?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, it's a ma'am. I just want to let you know.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Look, I am back on.
Okay.
I agree with both of those guys.
Right.
Both of them have their opinion. You understand?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the first guy talking about we don't need more people here. I understand him.
Yeah.
The other morning I was standing in Hamilton, and I was watching the traffic between 8 and 9. I don't know if you've ever done that.
Yeah.
But the
I drive in it every morning.
It's crazy coming into Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I called the police over. I said, "Do you see that?" He said, "I see it." Because there's an accident waiting to happen. The way they come over, I think it's Bergen Hill, coming over there, and everybody's rushing.
Yeah.
So and we don't need any more people. They say we need more people, but I don't know where they're going to put them. And I'm talking to the first guy. I agree with what he said. Where they going to put them?
Well, I say.
I'm gonna let you go.
I appreciate it. All right, dear.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Well, people say that we don't need any more people. Look, people, let me help you understand something. Yes, we do. It's the management of our people, right? Bermuda's in no different a predicament that you see go. China is going to need more people. Do you know that within the next 2-3 years, China will need more people? Why? Aging population. Right? They have an aging they will need more people. And that's why you will see the Chinese courting who? Who do you see them courting in terms of the youth population in education, science, and everything? You're talking about your youthful Africans. Why? It's the largest youthful demographic globally, right? By 2050, the African population, or by 2060, the African population will be 2 billion plus. Youth demographic. All right. You're there. Feel free to call back. But that's going to be the largest youth demographic. You've heard us say that before. So these are all shifting trends, even with what you see going on in United States with this military action that's going on. All connected. Good night, caller. You're on All Friends.
Good evening.
Good evening, my man. Good evening.
How you doing? It's Glenn.
Hey, Glenn. What's happening, man?
Good. Yeah, greetings to your listeners.
Yes, sir.
I caught. I didn't catch you guys right from the beginning. I caught just before these was 1-2. Somebody who was complaining about. I think his thesis was that Bermudians are generous.
Yeah.
That the brothers and sisters in the Caribbean are not as generous as we are.
Yeah, he's saying they take.
To make a case in that regard, he cited something he said he had been doing some research on hurricanes, etc. I don't know. I found I had questions about his turn, his thesis. You know, the concept of prejudice. You know, the term prejudice means that you're prejudging. So this thing about identifying a whole people, a whole community, and how many islands down there, how many millions of people that you're talking about, and you may, for instance, you know, I might go up the road and have what I would consider, my own personal view, an inappropriate interaction with somebody from Somerset. You know what I'm saying?
And so do you assault all Somerset people?
You know what I'm talking about?
It's the same thing we're seeing with Trumpism right now and Afghans.
I don't want to judge anybody.
Yeah.
You know, over the brother. But what I would suggest, perhaps, and given these circumstances, what's happening globally, that when we look at what's going on in I guess one might describe it right now as, somebody might describe it as the disunited states. Yeah. The disunited states. It's like right from the top is doing everything to divide people, divide and conquer. It's the strategy of Babylon.
We see it being played out.
Strategies which worked over decades and centuries and millennia.
It's the geopolitics 101.
What I'm suggesting is that perhaps at one in the near future, that maybe what could be helpful is that you might invite the brothers and sisters from the Human Rights Commission.
Believe it or not, Glenn, I have I even went there with the plea to have them on the show, but I'll try again. I've done it several times.
I mean, because there's some pretty skilled people there. Yeah, and perhaps with this, I think it's next week or very soon. It's December 10th. Yeah. And December, now hold a minute, I'm going to get that because December 10th, between you and I, is my wife's birthday. So I'm going to find out exactly what day it is. So that just keep that under wraps. But I'm saying that this whole period is a period of around human rights. And when we look at what's going on in the world, how they're treating this person, and right from the top, they're calling people all sorts of names, and oh my gracious, and young people are gonna, and they get it all from all sorts of sources and stuff. It's just they're trying to sue division. So here on the ground, our rule, we're called, Brother Lou, we're called to say, well, what can we do to ensure, and that doesn't mean we're not going to have differences.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, difference, you know, my background, you may know, I served for a period as a mediator.
Yeah.
And in that, in developing the skills in and around that, one conclusion that I came up is that difference is the nature of human beings. We have these differences. Why? Because we're so incredibly unique in the way we look at any circumstance, any situation.
And let me just ask you this here, Glenn. We look at those circumstances 9 times out of 10 from our own perspective. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Which, in most, I guess, and it brings into question your opening statement in terms of the prejudice, because you're not thinking in terms of the implications it may have for another person. You're looking at, hey, this is how it impacts me, and that's what's most important. Our uniqueness reflects what is most important for us. Right. As opposed to the uniqueness of recognizing that there are other partners and persons involved in this here who also are impacted by the same situation. Right. And with what you're talking about, I mean, when the brother says, you know, hey, we don't, you know, no more people. But we know that in reality, that's not going to happen. It can't happen.
Right.
So we must learn to manage the people who are here as we go elsewhere in the world. Right?
I mean,
Bermudians go elsewhere in the world.
I mean, I think we're probably some of the most traveled people in the world. We travel all over the place.
We do.
Yeah.
And not just travel, we choose to, our people, we choose to live.
How many people they say has left Bermuda to live in other places?
Yeah.
You know. So,
and choose to come back at age 65, 70, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But my main piece is about this whole thing about human solidarity.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that we're gonna really address in these dangerous times. I'm describing them as dangerous because look at what, like you just described. Here it is, the most powerful country in human history. The weaponry and everything they have. That publishing, people blowing up with these multi-million-dollar armaments, people in a boat. Open boat.
Who can't see it coming, by the way.
Can't see it coming.
Can't see it coming.
But bragging about it.
Yeah.
No evidence, like they don't say, all right, they publish some evidence. Even if it's evidence, even if they happen to have some drugs in the boat. And as they point out, there's a number of you know, qualified people who have described, one, the boats can't even reach the U.S., you know what I mean? It's like, you know, going down, this guy's got a couple of Evinrudes on the back, and it's jamming out there, and got 11 people on the boat. And the boat's only, say, 21 feet, and it's got 11 people on it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be bringing drugs.
It's no way that boat is on its way to United States, which is over some 1,000 miles away. Right? So we know this. We know this. We know this. Yeah. Look.
Yeah. So I mean, but the bragging. In other words, where we are, this is like a bad movie. Really, I mean, it's just shameful that they would brag about something like that. So consequently, even going back to the UK, you made a point, and I take your point, that UK is always up behind the US. But you may have noticed that the UK, which came out in the media about a week and a half ago, that the UK has told the US they will not be sharing any intelligence for the Caribbean, on the Caribbean, because of this. So, I mean, in other words, they're saying that we ain't committing no murders and stuff, and you know.
Clearly,
But
yeah.
even though they're under the thumb, if you see what I'm saying, that, I don't know if you heard that report, you saw that report, but check it out. So, I mean, the other thing that happened just yesterday, the President of the United States let out of prison, gave a pardon
Exactly.
to the former president
Of Honduras.
Who was convicted in federal court in the U.S., New York,
Of drug trafficking.
of bringing in tons
Yeah.
of cocaine. I'm not saying they say hundreds of tons of cocaine. He's let him out while he's killed over 80-something people, saying that they're bringing some drugs in a Boston Whaler. No, well, it's bigger than a Boston Whaler. But what I'm saying, it's a bad movie. It's a bad movie. And so that's what, and going to your point, I said that the world is in difficult and challenging times. And that's why clearing our minds, Marley put it very succinctly. He says, you have to emancipate. Now, mind you, he was borrowing from Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
Of Marcus Garvey. We have to emancipate our minds. We've got to have our minds very clear so that we appreciate each other, so that we can build the kind of human solidarity from one end of the island to the other. So that we take respect, we have a reverence for each other, no matter where you come from. You remember that's another song that speaks to wisdom. No matter where you come from.
Yeah.
They use the term, no matter where you come from, you're African. But let's make it broader. No matter where you come from, you're a human being.
Yeah.
And that, in fact, our duty and all of the wisdom of the ages points to that. It says that we have to concern ourselves how we treat each other in that real humane sense. And that thing about judging somebody based on this, that, and the other, we have to be careful with that.
Well, they do have to be careful, but like I said, people have their reasons. There's a lot of emotiveness behind. Yeah, there's a lot of emotiveness, and I listened to a lot of his emotions behind it, given the form that I guess was at Elliott and on the pathways and the personal nature that was taken in terms of, because he said West Indians, but he targeted Jamaicans. That's his sentiments and feelings about what took place at that event. And at the same time, we had our caller who concurred with both people, or a number of people, two people, on their positions. You and I, we've grown up. We've heard those things. We've experienced those things.
All the names
all of that. And I'm in terms of a realist about this, I make it very clear to people. I feel I was taught by some of the best West Indian teachers that I've ever been to this island. Right. We've named schools after some of the best in terms of Victor Scott, the former Central, all of that. Right. But I make it clear, and I make it clear.
Right.
We had a little thing going on in terms of what makes Bermuda magical. Well, hey, there's no better place. People who choose to be here on this island, short term, long term. Mm-hmm. Those of us who live here, right? Hey, and we have traveled, and we love this jewel in the Atlantic.
Yes.
We love this jewel, but there's a realism that comes with it also.
Right.
In that, look, we can be any place in the world.
Right.
But I make it very clear with our high cost of living, for those who do come here and contribute to our economy, they're living their best life in Bermuda. They are living their best life in Bermuda. And when they choose to go back home, as they do, when they choose to send what they earn back to Philippines, they should. That's what they're expected to do.
The kind of conditions that they come from.
Exactly. They're living their best life. But as you're living your best life
Check the wisdom of the ages. People like what Jesus was talking about when he said, what you do to the least of these. I mean, that's how I came up, and I can't be no different. So if I hear this on the air, I want to encourage people to let's have a reverence for each other, notwithstanding that you might not be a bigger or whatever. Yeah, and just like all the best of ourselves, the best of our humanity, we have to access that every time, and we have to do it much more now, but in these dark times.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
we must. Yeah. I want to catch you. I want to catch these other callers here.
All right, Dan, thank you. Keep up the good work.
You've triggered them. Thanks a lot.
All right. Okay, bye.
All right. I'm going to take the next caller, but I want to listen to this. It places in context some of the things that we're talking about. And some of you may have listened to this and seen it on TikTok in terms of Bermuda. Listen to this.
Caribbean isn't just another regional conflict.
Hold on. Not that one. Let me get it right. Gotta listen to this one. Here we go. Here we go.
Because Britain knows exactly how valuable this tiny territory really is. Forget the postcards. Bermuda is one of the most profitable financial jurisdictions in the world, and London has zero intention of letting it go. The island remains a British overseas territory, with the UK holding final authority over foreign policy, defense, and the courts. Bermuda has a flag. Britain has the power. Follow for more. In 1968, Bermuda was granted internal self-government, but the British governor, appointed by London, still controls security, policing, and the constitutional framework. The Privy Council in the UK remains Bermuda's highest court, meaning the most important legal decisions about Bermudians are made thousands of miles away by judges they'll never meet and never vote for. Then comes the financial side. Bermuda didn't become a global insurance and reinsurance hub on its own. British and American corporations built the system, shaped the laws, and control the profits. Local workers keep the machine running, but foreign companies walk away with billions. When Bermuda has questioned this arrangement, the UK has responded with quiet but unmistakable pressure. Stability over sovereignty. Bermuda isn't post-colonial. It's a high-income colony with luxury branding. Like, follow and share for more. Bermuda was never offered.
There you go. That places into context some of the things that Brother Glenn was talking about and the previous callers were talking about. Look, people, it's a jewel in the Atlantic, whether you like it or not. And when you listen to that there and read that article, No Signs of CARICOM Awareness Efforts, the content of it, you're owned by the British government, period. Good night, caller. Good night, caller.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, my brother. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well, thank you.
Wonderful. I've listened to the dialogue, especially Mr. Fabler, and his comments about labeling, and specifically condescending labeling,
yes,
of people and social issues like about drugs or even financial matters for that matter. And he's quite right. You know, there's a bigger thing at play.
Yep.
And when you look at Bermuda in the context of what we have to offer in this country as Bermudians, individuality and brilliance, and what it means to the world economy, Bermuda is recognized for what it really is.
It's a financial center for the world.
But, you know, you could put it that way. And I was listening to Mr. Corey Butterfield's show this afternoon, and he made special reference to the machinery and how it works. And I think when we look at it from that perspective, we can get a better understanding of what's really taking place.
Yeah.
Because what are we to expect? I mean, and when you look at it like the machinery runs the world, has a flawed design in it. You know, it's based on race, and who's going to be controlling whom. Russians going to control us.
Chinese.
Well, I don't see the Chinese because they're not white. Or is white America going to control us?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they will fight each other over that potential to be able to call the shots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had an American Civil War where the North had sold slaves to the South, but the South, using that advantage of free labor, were able to big up themselves, big up their chest, and say, well, I'm going to run things instead of the North. This is the South talking.
Yeah.
And so it's never an issue of the non-white people in the world, whether they're Chinese, whether they're Indian, whether they're anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Bermuda, Trinidad, or South Africa, of African people controlling the world. We don't have those kinds of discussions. But I'm bringing it to our consciousness that that's really what the fight is all about at the end of the day. And so I keep coming to that point that there's a machinery in place that programs our behavior, our personalities. We have what we think, our thoughts, what we say, and what we do. So when I hear subjects like this, I say, here we go again. Duh. When are we going to get it? Like, it's not about a particular issue, be it financial or not.
Right.
It's who is controlling who.
And I'll say, who is controlling who? I mean, what we see being played out in the Caribbean Sea is for that ultimate control. It's using that military strength or military force in the Caribbean toward Venezuela to exercise that greater control over other forces or other countries and so forth. And while we frame it, and it is part of that white supremacist construct that we see being played out in that history. I mean, it's not new to us.
Right.
It's certainly not new to us. Yeah.
I mean, so why should we be have any kind of anxiety when these types of things come to the forefront?
Yeah.
Because you can guarantee it's going to be coming to the forefront as long as they control.
Yeah. I guess also, what's your thoughts on this? Because I think the greater anxiety for people today is so much of the blatant, in-your-face hypocrisy to the criminal acts that we see before us and the attempts to...
Interesting.
Yeah, and the attempts to tell us that what we see going on before us isn't really happening,
Yeah.
And when I listen to people bearing witness to this here, it's that which people are wrestling with, that anxiety, that distress, that you're attempting to convince me of something that's not my reality. When I see it, you're in my house. You are you have literally come into my house. You have ramshacked my house, and you're telling me that's not what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And we buy into that argument. And we have referendums over such silliness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you can't if you don't fully understand what is happening and the flaw in the system, which is designed to control you, and you're actually supporting that system that's designed to control you, that is really a mental state. And that's where we are.
Yeah, and when I hear people asking about, okay, let's take care of what are the benefits to us as Bermudian people, or full membership benefits, and you hear people say, well, we are from the cultural perspective. Well, full benefits, partial benefits is not going to change our cultural connection, number one. We'll always have that cultural connection. the economic benefits, well, how will we economically benefit? Well, the Caribbean, out of solidarity, Brother Glenn, with solidarity, will have a strong economic base if they show solidarity. Well, that's in question. It gets back to what you're saying,
Yes.
That unification, well, that remains to be seen, because Trinidad has decided they're going another route. They're going the way of that dominant party, meaning the U.S., versus the others who want to stay in the zone of peace. Right?
Well, that may or may not be true. I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying that may or may not be true. I'm sure I can find many Trinidadians that.
Well, when I say Trinidad, there is opposition. The Trinidadian people are against it. The Trinidadian people are against it, as they say, their prime minister has sold the soul of the nation. So the Trinidadian people, Trinidad and Tobago people, are certainly against it.
Okay.
That I listen to, but the government of Trinidad, of this leadership, has made another decision to be of support to the installation of U.S. military radar facilities.
Well, I understand
on their
the
lands.
pressures.
Yeah.
I understand the pressures that are placed on,
of course,
on people who hold those positions, but ultimately, then I don't want to be labeling condescendingly in any way any government, any non-white governments for the actions that they take, because they are at the mercy of a much wider, powerful global government.
Yeah, which has demonstrated they will blow you out of the water if they need to.
Well, it comes down to you asking enough questions. Who has the biggest gun? Who has the biggest gun will decide what the situation is going to be.
Yeah.
And for 2,000 years, we know who's had the biggest gun, because I don't care what kind of form of slavery you want to talk about, chattel slavery or economic slavery. Mm-hmm. And you have our prophets talked about emancipation yourself from mental slavery. This is what they're talking about.
Exactly.
It's not a particular issue. It's a general issue of how the machinery is flawed from the start.
Yeah.
So it's a non-starter trying to operate within a machinery that is designed for your downfall, for you to have conflict amongst yourselves.
But look, let me take the next caller, because you're triggering some things, because that psychological warfare that you're speaking to, because that's what we're dealing with here. We're talking the economic warfare that's going on in the Caribbean Sea, but with it, as you have clearly articulated, it's that psychological warfare that is the machinery that dictates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Good night, you on all fronts.
Hey, Lou, Dr. Lou.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, my brother?
So far, so good.
All right. I don't know what your topic is really about.
Well, we're addressing, we're talking to CIA, CARICOM, investment, and armed defense. And when you think in terms of what's going on in the Caribbean Sea right now, with the strong 12,000 plus American presence, right?
Invasion.
You said it. Yeah. It has implications for the entire Caribbean, because they're being pulled into a economic warfare. We say it's economic warfare, but a military exercise, whether they want it or not. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to say is, when you blow somebody out of the water, that's a war crime. The survivors just there to pick them up. That's Geneva Convention's law, not mine. Mm-hmm. Right? And look, when that man said, "Let's make America great again," he meant bring slavery back. I don't care what anybody else sees. This is what I know, because he's given the power. Like he's got the power to do whatever he likes. Because when he acts, he has immunity to do what he wants. I can remember him making a statement about if he killed somebody on 42nd, he's not going ever to him. That was before he was president or in his first time.
Indeed, he said it. He said he could walk right out of the White House, kill someone, and nothing can be done to him.
Right. And his greatest weapon, remember, Germany had the most advanced weaponry in World War II. The first people to create rockets and jets.
Right.
But Hitler's greatest weapon, I'm not going to ask if it's going to take too much time. I'm telling you, it's propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay? That's that man's his grand, you know, everything. It's going to make you look like you done something wrong. And you're a victim. His analysis, he called that woman piggy and ugly and all of that. And it's just terrible for any president of any country. No. Lou, you might not know, and I was listening to Corey.
Yeah.
And what happened? I couldn't get on his thing, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to mention Roosevelt Brown.
Oh, hey, we're going to pay homage, but at the end of the show, my brother, because yeah.
Look, I write poems, right? I wrote something earlier this year about our heroes. Don't forget our heroes. People like Austin Thomas.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's people that they don't even, he mentioned his name today, right? But it's people that, look, that's almost a trivial cause of to educate the people. They're talking about putting black history in these schools. That I was going to tell you, Romelu, and I went there, I left at, I think I was 17, and I was in my 4th year, and they still wasn't teaching black history. Now, let's go back to this person whose name I don't like to call. But I'm going to have to so people know who I'm talking about.
All right.
When he said, let's make America great again, he meant let's bring slavery back. Now, here we go. The worst president, to my knowledge, in America's history, it's no mystery to me. Trump is the worst president in American history. He has set convicted killers free. He wants to bring back slavery. Can't you see? He wants to do that to you and me. He rules with an iron fist. He acts like a communist. Do what I say or you will pay. Always wants to have his way. Another thing he has done for the people to see, he has upset the world's economy. Because he is evil and racist as can be. The Israelis doing the same thing the Germans done to the Jews. Killing unarmed men, women, and children. That's been on ABC World News. This news is worldwide. The Israeli president and Putin are committing genocide. Yahoo and Putin, their ideology is the same. They're both going insane. The power they have that's going to the head. Instead of doing good, they choose to do bad.
My brother, you know you always have poetic license. I keep telling you, I mean I've been privileged to see I can't say the full compliment, but I've seen so much of your work that I'm just waiting for the book.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate you, man.
Listen, just a minute. This is the statement you're getting on Roosevelt. This is a part of the poem about him. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Another, it's called Don't Forget Our Heroes, and I start them all like this, sir. Another hero I know. This brother was named, I couldn't remember his African name, give it to him or whatever. But he to
Dr. Palu Kamarafego, but go ahead.
Listen, the brother was named to me, people in my time, as the Globe Trotter.
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Roosevelt Brown. He was known all over time. He went around the world fighting against injustice. He fought for them. He fought for us. A universal soldier. That's what he was. Always fighting for a good cause. Power to the people. That's it.
My brother, I appreciate you all the time, man.
All right, Lou. I'll check you later.
All right.
All right.
Enjoy the peace. Good night, you and all friends.
Good evening, Brother Lou.
Good evening.
The CNB all over the island and all around the world tonight.
Well, yeah, that's what we're doing. When you're talking CARICOM, it is all over the world.
Yeah,
it's all over the world. And we're front and center in the geopolitics, whether we want to be in it or not. But go ahead.
Okay, well, you did say we already have an associate agreement.
Well,
right?
yeah, we have an associate. We are associate members of CARICOM. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bermuda, number one, when it comes to us in the area of being connected to the rest of the Caribbean islands around through family and
we don't deny our cultural connection and relationship.
Connection, right?
Yeah.
But what the rest of the islands need to recognize again when it comes to Bermuda, that we are the oldest, right, of the British colonies.
All right. Oldest, youngest, doesn't matter. You're still a colony.
No, but I'm just saying in the area of respect and the sense of, and we are the emancipators of the African nation of people.
Well, okay.
And number two,
but we cannot emancipate ourselves. But go ahead. I hear a contradiction.
Yeah, but if like I said, if it weren't for us giving them to put the groundwork to seeing what they've been singing about or saying what they've been saying about, it was through our Mary Prince that gave them that open mouth to be able to say that. That's from all the rest of them doing it, right? So we must remind people of that. We're not sitting out in the Atlantic Ocean like, we just got here. Well, been here, and we saw everybody.
And I agree. We are contributors to the history of the world.
To the history of the world.
That's right.
And we're not sitting out there acting like, we don't know what we're doing or we don't know who we are. We know who we are. Mm-hmm. This is why we are in the position that we are right now. We're a self-made country. And number one, when it comes to the Constitution of Bermuda, compared to
constitutional order,
compared to the rest of the colonies, our Constitution is totally different. We are a self-governing country.
We have that in terms of the constitutional order. Needs some revision to it, but go ahead.
Yeah, although, yes, and we can negotiate through that. What David brought up there, having this discussion with the King now, and of course, we haven't heard the full story of what the conversations are all about, but knowing, what he said earlier, in his warning to the British government that, we need to have a very good relationship. Mm-hmm. We're not out here just being, where you can just jump on us and tell us what to do without us having a say about it. And that's where the Privy Council comes into the fact that we can have that discussion there if we need to go any further, and what you want to bestow on us. But getting back to us looking at what's going on outside our country, what's happening down in Venezuela and what's happening in the Caribbean islands is not happening here in the islands of Bermuda's waters. And we are totally different when it comes to our connection with America and the rest of the Caribbean islands and around the world.
But I'll say this here with the clip that I played earlier.
Yes.
That may be the case.
Yes.
But financially, we're right front and center with what's going on in the Caribbean right now.
Yes.
All right. So we're not far removed. We're front and center.
Yeah, but like I said, but the thing about it with us, we have. And
when I say us, I mean Bermuda.
Bermuda, I'm saying Bermuda. We know how to handle and negotiate our affairs regardless what it is. You get what I'm saying? We're not afraid to step outside the box or the rules and regulations to tell somebody, like, hey, we're not happy with that there.
Well, well, I'm glad. Hold on. Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
You just said something. Because it had me asking this question. When we saw all that democratic action, pathways to status on the Hill, right? That collective democratic action by the people. I asked the question, even right now, why is it? I mean, we're discussing comparable types of issues without that type of action, and I asked the question, why? why is it we don't see the same type of democratic activism to some of the issues that we are dealing with right now, comparable to that action that was taken, pathway to status? Same action, same issues, similar issues. But why is it we don't have that type of action?
Well,
we got and I'll say this here. People say, "Oh, we talk." That was evidence of people talking and acting.
Yes.
And I'm saying, why is it for as long as the Bermudian people have been asking questions even on this issue of CARICOM, full membership, wanting consultation, not hearing certain things, the issues that people feel that they haven't been included in the conversation. Why is it you don't see the same type of proactive democratic action on the many of these issues that we're addressing currently compared to what was demonstrated
on CARICOM?
Well, not on CARICOM, but I'm saying when we had the pathway to citizenship, that democratic action. You don't see any action like this now.
No, but because we're not that type. The thing about
how could you say we're not that?
Okay, what I'm trying to tell you.
When we've already demonstrated the action, I'm asking why is it we don't see the same type of actions?
Okay, because that happened. That was right on our shores. That was right in our face, and we demonstrated that we don't want to do that.
What you mean? This is right on our shores right now. Right now, Bermuda people. Hold on. Right now, Bermudian people are up in arms with the high cost of living.
Yes.
You see nothing compared to what we talked about in terms of pathway to citizenship. You don't see no action on that level toward cost of living in Bermuda. You see, when we talk about the issue that we have around housing, you don't see any type of action taking place right now toward lack of housing. People up in arms about the high cost of living. We have numerous town hall meetings about it, but you don't see the type of action that you saw on the Hill toward pathway to citizenship. And I asked the question, why?
Because, the question is this.
And it's right in our backyard.
That bill was right in our backyard. It was being
so is this.
It was being proposed to, if I remember, government on the opposite side, and which that we don't really want to have.
Okay.
Number one, we proposed that because we're looking at you opening up the floodgates for people to just come here and live in Bermuda, and we don't even have the space to live for ourselves.
Well, the current government has made it clear that we're going to we have to open up our boundaries or our borders to have more people here to stimulate economy, all of that.
Yes,
so what are you saying?
Okay, what I'm saying.
And all of this is CARICOM related too.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this. I mean, before we go down into the CARICOM and trying to come along with those people, the situations that they haven't done, we need to clean up our own backyard right now.
All right.
What our government needs to do right now is to do what they say on the platform, and the Bermudians come first. Right now, the number one problem that we have for the Bermudian people, and also the ones who's living abroad, who's going over there, is housing.
All right.
Number one.
All right.
Number one problem that we have right now.
All right.
And before we join any CARICOM or get anything, clean up your own backyard first.
Good place to take the next caller. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Clean up our yard. Good night, you and all friends.
Yes, nice, Section 8.
Yes, my brother.
When I was going to Berkeley, I had a school teacher from the Philippines.
From the Philippines?
Told me,
all right, go ahead.
She told me that one day Bermuda's going to be the new Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we heard that years ago, too.
I was trying to look all around and you see it, but the art of the deal of immigration is that you use the money that you make to build the welfare state for the people at the bottom. And that's where, because of systemic racism, we're failing.
Right.
But coming to the point of what's going on, and when oil goes up, we will be going into a big recession. Okay.
Oh, without a doubt. That's some of the predictive things right now. I'm glad you brought that up, Caller, because I'm going to share a clip.
To make money, the solution is you have a UK base and a US base. That way there, the money, I don't know where those 12,000 troops are getting food from, stuff like that. That way there, the money will stay in Bermuda's economy. We have a base land.
Right.
There we can have our economy based on the Cold War there. Because we don't want Russia invading and stuff like that, or China. We don't really want that. But immigration is a topic, but you have to use the money to help the people. Otherwise, they're going to leave.
Right.
And I would support mandatory status. You can't have these CEOs around and making all this big money, and then they leave, they take the money, and then it makes everybody's pensions go small. So you need a pathway to status to make your pension better.
I got you.
That's the problem that I think a lot of our economists are failing on. That you need pathways to status to give you that big pension. Then you could take that from somewhere else.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Yeah, I'm going to share this last clip, on this subject matter, based on something that the caller shared. Listen up.
Because Britain knows exactly how valuable this tiny...
Oops. Always goes back to the previous. Let's see, do it again.
...territory really is.
So Donald Trump and the United States of America is in massive trouble. Massive trouble. Why? I'll tell you why. Venezuela. Massive issues. So Venezuela is in debt to China. And Venezuela decided to say to China, hey, we'll pay off our debt in oil. China is completely okay with that. They're a growing economy. They're smart, they're civilized, and they have a lot of common sense. The United States of America, however, has no common sense because they're led by an idiot. So Donald Trump says, we're going to go into Venezuela, and it's going to be all about drugs. And we know it's not about drugs because he's just pardoned a man that brought $400 million worth of cocaine into the United States of America. That's about oil. The United States is going to Venezuela and invade Venezuela and attack Venezuela because of oil. And the reason they're going to do that is because the US of A is bankrupt. They need resources. They need oil. So now the oil that Venezuela promised China, they're not going to be able to deliver because Donald Trump is going to steal it because of an invasion. And that's going to piss off the Chinese. And the Chinese are much stronger than the United States of America in so many ways. So are the Chinese going to attack America? No, they don't need to. They'll just cut off the supply chains. And America will die slowly. And it's going to be because of Donald J. Trump. So Donald Trump
there you have it. So these are the sentiments, it's interesting there's no shortage of subject matter pertaining to what's going on in the Caribbean right now in Venezuela. And like I said, if we talk about CARICOM investment and the armed defense, Bermuda's not far removed from any of it, whether we're full membership or associate membership. Good night to you on all fronts.
Dr. Lou.
Yes, sir.
Evening again. You mentioned about China earlier, that they were short on young people.
Yeah, well...
I saw a documentary on China, and the problem is that for decades, when they had that one-child rule,
it's come back to haunt them now.
They were killing their girls,
yes,
and having boys. So China is short of women, very short of women. So some Chinese men are going to other countries to try and find wives. That's why they got a shortage of young people, because they don't have any women there to have children with.
Right.
That's China's problem. Bermuda's problem, as far as protesting and stuff like that. I realized in 1963, when the PLP first came about, that the 98% of black Bermudians suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome, and they still do today.
Absolutely.
And the black Bermudians are cowardly people. They're very cowardly when it comes to food prices and other things that we should be making noise about. They don't do it. They always want somebody else to do it, and they don't want to get up off their backsides and go out there and do what they should be doing. They're cowardly people. And we're never going to make any progress as long as we sit on our backsides and don't go out there and fight about food prices. We're losing a lot of our young people going to the United States, Canada, England, because of this high cost of living. They can't bear it. What you can spend the next 35, 40 years buying a house, and then you can pay it off, and then by the time you finish paying off, then you drop dead, so you never get to enjoy it, because they're too expensive. And that's our problem. And we've got to do something about this. Something can be done, but nobody wants to do anything. We've got to get these prices down so that these young people could come back. Hopefully they will come back and take over, so that when we older generation drop dead, they can take over and move this country forward. And in Scripture, it says that. It says that when you have a country that's not making progress, it's because of the older generation are in the way of the younger generation. They're in the way. They're slowing up progress. We're not making any progress because of the older people and the old set ways. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. Crazy.
Well, it's got to be the collective worth and value of all of us. It's not going to be one generation over the other, but I concur with you because I'm one of those people who believe that I don't believe 70-year-olds, and I think we have pretty much a young cabinet. I think we have we have a cabinet that I think reflects what should be global in politics. That it should be reflect more of the future of Bermuda. But as it does that, it doesn't dismiss the wisdom of the elders. It's a mutual respect. And I think Bermuda is a place that warrants that we collaboratively use the strengths of us to rebuild this island. So thanks a lot, though.
But another big problem that we have is that the government is not doing what they're supposed to do. They're making all these promises on things they can do, and they're not honoring these promises or breaking these promises, and this is slowing our progress.
Well, the progress comes from us, like I said, collectively, collaboratively, being the solution, being the collaborative and collective solution to our problems. That's what it's needed.
We should be out there complaining and protesting, and we're not doing anything.
Right now, we're not.
Just doing what they feel like doing.
Yeah,
see?
Right now, we're not. Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right. Good night, you and all friends. Good night.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Hey, hello. Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. It's Rolf Commissioner.
Yes, it's.
I just wanted to commend that last caller. I really do, because he hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking directly. He's not beating around the bush. And you know, he's not afraid to really affirm black identity here.
Right.
You know. Very disappointed as usual with Glenn Trubler. Always feels that he's got to make whites or make black Bermudians be nicer to whites. Like he's on a mission. As if we're the problem.
Right.
So I hope he's listening. This is the language you need to use, Glenn.
Are you
white supremacy?
Right.
Is on the march.
Yes, it is. I think a previous caller said the same thing.
Global hegemony.
I mean, what type of government does the United States have?
Yeah.
It's a government that is committed to the ideology of white supremacy. You want to say maybe white supremacy 21st century style. Okay, say it like that. But it's no doubt.
Yeah.
He's even resurrected the term third world.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
Mm-hmm. As he has resurrected many of those former Jim Crow laws and behaviors, yeah.
Oh, man, I mean, this is the MAGA 3.0.
Yeah.
MAGA 1.0 was the same thing. Glenn's old enough to remember it. It was the same thing. That was Ronald Reagan, and that movement was the culmination of the white backlash against black progress in America, and beyond that even globally. That's what Reaganism represented.
Let me ask you this here, because you've been on the mother of all talk shows. What's some of the conversation that you have been engaged in on that program, the mother of all talk shows, as it pertains to some of these recent actions? Certainly on the mother of all talk shows, I mean, you know, you guys have been very upfront in terms of attacking the genocide that we bear witness to over in Palestine and Gaza. But what has been some of the conversation?
That's pretty much up front and center since I've been calling in periodically over the last year, and understandably so. But also now, you know, we're in the context of endless wars here, perpetrated primarily by the Anglo-Americans. And so the conversation is also now looking at, someone used the term, I think, of the world in peril.
Yeah.
That's what it's basically the same thing. People, you know, maybe initially some people thought that what was happening in Gaza is just a regional conflict.
Right.
I'm sure most people knew that, and they're following this for decades, with respect to what Israel has done there.
Right.
To misappropriate land, steal land, and continuing now in West Bank, to expand their illegal settlement, the illegal occupation of that land.
Right.
So, what's happening in America is something else that is, people need to understand that what came out of that Reagan and Thatcher era, Thatcher, who was the prime minister for you young people out there in the UK, unleashed waves of income and wealth inequality on both sides of the Atlantic. Okay, because they created, the changes they put in place set the table for America and the UK and throughout the West, to one degree or another, becoming financialized economies. And this financialized economies is what began the unleashing of massive amounts of income and wealth inequality decade after decade, post-1980s. That's also what spurred the growth of oligarchy. And the new oligarchs were able to amass massive amounts of wealth through those changes, generally speaking, that were put in place, particularly in the U.S., by Ronald Reagan, and you had economists like Milton Friedman and all the rest. Bermuda became a financialized economy too. And you talk about the role of international business in the global economy. It was tied intrinsically within that financialized global economy. There's also a byproduct of a major restructuring that Reagan and Thatcher put in place.
Right.
And we're now seeing the very destructive impacts of that. Not only in terms of these countries, Bermuda I don't know what Bermuda. I guess I guess if you're bringing in a $7,000-8,000 government pension, Bermuda's pretty cool for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that it's only applicable to and those who are still working, who are making those types of salaries. Black Bermudians. They're still a minority in contrast to Bermuda's white, particularly Anglo and maybe Anglo-Portuguese communities. So you may have your top 2 or 3 tiers in government, civil service. Maybe, 300 or 400 Black Bermudians working in IB, Black Bermudians. You got a little gang out there profiteering over at Belco, the highest levels.
Let me ask you this here before I go. I have to ask you this here. I mean, and I know you've been staying abreast of what's going on, of course, in the Caribbean, but Trinidad, an island that you have close ties to, has sided with the U.S. military on their shores. The Prime Minister is taking a lot of flack from her people. What's your position on it?
Well, somebody said earlier, I think, in commenting about that, or was it you, I believe, that that was just the position of the government as opposed to
position of the people,
the Trinidadian people.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to clarify that. Let's not be under any illusions, all right? She represents largely the Indian community in Trinidad. And people will be surprised, but there are more Indians who support her Labour Party. I don't know if that's the exact name of it these days.
Kamala Prasad Bisasa.
Bisasa, who comes from a Brahmin Indian background. That's the highest caste in her family, actually. But they are fully on board with her on this issue. But it's been a disaster for Trinidad, and it's standing in the global south and the broader global community to see her taking this position. So while she's here, or not even, it's worse than that. Trump's saying how jump, and she's saying how high, master. I don't even think that she has expressed any condolences publicly or privately to the families of the 2 Trinidadians, and maybe more by now, who were basically assassinated on the high seas.
Yeah.
Has she
more than 80 people killed?
Has she made a move to?
And they say several of those people that have been killed are Trinidadian citizens.
That's right. And has she made a move to ensure that those who had been killed through extrajudicial killings, that's a legal term, right, are going to get legal representation? Many of those people come from very poor families, and mostly Afro-Trinidadians.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, she is...
Or you would say black Trinidadians.
No. I don't know, down in,
I get it,
America, South America, Afro-descendant. Right? So, I mean, you can do either way, right? But, this has been very bad. This has been very bad. And it's brought about division within CARICOM, to be honest about it, and the Caribbean community. Putting troops on Trinidad. I mean, what's going on here?
Well,
it's not good. It's not healthy for her to take a position that is the antithesis of what the community of CARICOM believes in. And I'm pretty sure that most persons of African descent in Bermuda don't support what she's doing.
Yeah.
And many Trinidadians are aghast, particularly.
Well, they say she sold the soul of the nation. She has sold the soul of the nation in this one.
Exactly.
So.
And think about this. I mean, this guy, the leader of Honduras, former leader, he gives the guy a full pardon.
A full pardon.
A full pardon.
You're bombing so-called drug ships, and you give a drug trafficker a full pardon.
Yeah, I mean, and drug trafficker may be an understatement compared to this guy.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, well, he himself has murdered a number of people, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Lastly, who did, go and make the supposition here? I mean, who actually, in Trump's extended circle, received the funding that went into the pockets of Trump's family members or associates that then allowed Trump or compelled Trump then to issue this pardon? Because, I mean, it's a lot of stealing going on in all levels.
Look,
corruption is
I was listening to, who is it, Malcolm Nance, former CIA black operative. He's saying we are bearing witness to the most corrupt government in America's history.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I'm just going by. Well, let's say, or we could probably say in the modern era.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's
let's place it like that, in the modern era. Yeah.
Hey, let me just read something from and it's not long.
Go ahead. Then I'll take next caller.
Crooks. Alistair Crooks is a guy that's on a lot of these blogs. He's a former United Kingdom ambassador.
Yeah.
Right, and so he was being, the conversation, getting back to the mother of all talk shows, George Galloway's show. A lot of stuff talks about geopolitics, right? In terms of what's going on with the world, the rise of the multipolar world, the rise of the global South and Eurasia in opposition to the West, primarily the Anglo-Americans. That's the Anglo-Americans. The Anglos are under that construct. It would be the English, the land of the Angles, Anglo-American, and Americans, of course, is also a very sort of Anglo-Saxon in its origins and its cultural worldview. But anyway, so Crooks says this is what's going on here. The West will not be able to accept with equanimity defeat of NATO on the battlefield. He's talking about Ukraine, and it's becoming imminent. Then he says, and I hope Glenn Feather's listening, Alistair Crooks then says, he talked to a member of the Western European elite who said, I just cannot imagine living in a world where Europe and America is not directing that world, where Russia is blocking us. Right? Now, the person he's talked to is a member of the European elite, right? Okay. What does he mean by Russia is blocking us? He means that the threat to America amongst those elites and in Europe is China.
Yeah.
Russia is blocking them. Remember, they have this sort of racialized hierarchy, even in Europe. Before you get to the Africans and people of African descent, at the bottom of their racial hierarchy, right? You have the Eastern Europeans who are viewed as Slavs, and the Russians even worse in the eyes of the Western Europeans. The Western European and the British is a mix of Germanic tribes and Latins.
Right.
Okay? That's who they are. They think they're superior to the Eastern European people who are Slavs. The Russians in particular, they view with even a sort of hatred. Listen to the way they talk about Russia. The Russians have a lot of Mongolian blood in them. For example, Lenin, family was a minor aristocrats. Father was an educator. He was elevated to the role of the lower aristocracy by, I think it was Alexander, the emperor of Russia at that time. His son, of course, was Lenin. They also were part Mongolian. Look at Putin, right? Yes, his skin is white. And he probably has some Scandinavian, because they're the ones who are originally mostly from that Sweden, Scandinavia area, who actually came down into the rivers that bordered Eurasia,
right,
and established the kingdom of Rus, which then becomes Russia. Okay, the Vikings that came to the UK and on the Atlantic and those places, most of them came from what we now call Norway. With Russia, the ones that we now call Sweden, that's where they emanated from. But then they had a lot of admixture with others. Like I said, the Mongolians who came around as well. So this is the sort of animus that goes back centuries.
As Patrick Lumumba said, we are bearing witness to the European tribalism. He says it's the European tribalism. I mean, much of what we grew up hearing about the African ethnic rivalries or disagreements, we've always, bearing witness to the European tribalism. This is what we are bearing witness to right now. And, even when he speaks to what you see going on between Russia and the Ukraine, it's tribalism. European white tribalism. I got to take the next caller because we're at the top of the hour.
Okay. Well, so don't forget about tomorrow. Let everybody know tomorrow evening.
Yes.
For the continuing.
Yes, that's going to be. Where are we tomorrow evening? We're at the Warwick Workmen's, are we?
Warwick Workmen's Club.
At Warwick Workmen's Club, and you're continuing this conversation on.
We want to have a debate over a question being raised about what's next for Bermuda.
Right.
And we're talking about,
on the cost of living. And solutions.
Yeah.
And solutions.
Yes, right.
All right.
Black poverty, black crisis amidst a multiracial society.
All right. Starting at what time?
Starting at 6 o'clock and right up until 8 o'clock.
All right.
So we encourage everybody to come out.
Yes, sir. Be blessed. All right, we're finishing with you, the last caller on all fronts. Good night. How are you?
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Simmons. I'm enjoying the conversation.
Thank you, sir.
One thing I would say, I don't think it was mentioned, but you said America's looking for resources, and I think it's been not admitted, but Africa is the place that has all the minerals and resources
for the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's happening right now? Trump has been down there trying to get Burkina Faso's oil. They just discovered.
Yeah.
Africa's coming together through him and other leaders down there.
Yeah.
And you can see what's happened to France. France is getting in chaos right now because they're not getting their minerals, not getting their resources.
Well, they stand to be broke too.
Pardon?
I said they stand to go broke also.
They're heading very quickly that way, and I think other countries are.
Yeah.
And I think reading that the Caribbean was going along with Africa, and they're going with this reparation movement.
Mm-hmm.
So America's flexing its muscles down there, but I think they think because of the bullets that it's not going to go up against them.
Well, what we're being witness to, man, is that the rest of the world is no longer fearful of that anymore.
They
don't. Even with its military might and strength and all of that, the rest of the world isn't fearful of that.
And guess what? You pick on the small nations like a bully, but you ain't picking on the big nations.
Yeah.
Right? And it's got signs of being just like World War II.
Well,
the type of leadership style it's got.
In this whole theater of war, which is starting out with blockades and economic warfare, and we're at risk. When I say we globally, the rest of the world are at risk because of what we're bearing witness to right now.
Yeah.
And not just what we see taking place in the Caribbean Sea. What's going on between Ukraine and Russia? What's going on? Of course, Israel and Palestine. Yeah.
But you know what?
And guess what? United States is in the mix of all of them.
Yes, and guess what, Lou?
Because war pays for America.
One thing, there's a good Lord above.
Mm-hmm.
You might think that they're powerful and all this, but there's a good Lord above.
Well,
let's oversee everything.
Let us pray, my brother. Let us pray.
Right.
Take care.
I leave it at that, and I'm enjoying the show, but We'll see. We'll just see.
We'll see.
Anyway, have a good
We'll
day.
see. You too. Have a good night. Hey, people, it's top of the hour, and, there's a significant historical moment today, we always commemorate the anniversary that is part of Bermuda's history. When we talk about the 1977 riots, now that was some serious protests and actions. Of course, that was to do with the execution of Buck Boris and Larry Tecklin. And so we're going to play and finish the night off with this 15-minute historical moment. So just lay back, listen to it, not off to sleep, and we'll end the night with this. Listen up.
Neighborhood began attacking passing whites, and police and soldiers used rubber bullets to try to break up the crowds. Late today, island authorities urgently requested Britain to send army reinforcements. The incident's the latest in 2 days of rioting, touched off by the executions of 2 black convicted murderers. The trouble could have a devastating effect on Bermuda's economy, which is almost totally dependent on tourism. Gary Shepard begins our report with the overnight developments.
It was a night of more violence and destruction. At least a dozen buildings set on fire despite a dusk-to-dawn curfew imposed by the government in an effort to restore order. Fire brigades raced from one place to another, attempting to keep up with bands of black youths who roamed the city carrying fire bombs. Police arrested at least 20 persons for violating the curfew, which was imposed under terms of yesterday's state of emergency proclamation. More than 300 troops have been called to active duty as a result of the trouble, and squads of soldiers carrying automatic rifles are being used to guard key facilities. Premier David Gibbons has issued an urgent plea for calm during what he calls this very difficult phase in Bermuda's history.
We must work together to maintain law and order. We must work together to remove any causes which may have contributed to our present problems. Violence of any kind cannot be tolerated or condoned.
Downtown Hamilton resembled a ghost town last night. Thousands of tourists, many of them Americans, watched some of the fires from their hotels, where they were confined after 6 p.m. because of the curfew. Hotel bars stayed open later than usual to accommodate the crowds. This morning, some of the burned-out buildings were still smoldering, and spectators gathered to get a look at what was left of them. Fearing more violence, many merchants began covering their display windows with plywood today. But in the case of this school, it was too late. Property damage as a result of the rioting and fire bombings is now estimated at several $1 million. But officials here are worried about the even greater damage to this island's reputation as a nice, quiet place to come on vacation. Gary Shepard, CBS News, Hamilton, Bermuda.
Some troops have arrived, but some tourists are staying home. That's the latest report from Bermuda, the once calm but now racially troubled island in the Atlantic. About 200 British troops have been assigned to the island. These boarded transports in England, while an advance battalion of airborne troops was flown to Bermuda from a base in Central America. More on what's happening in Bermuda from Gary Shepard.
A state of emergency remained in effect here today, even though the violence that began last Thursday night appeared to be subsiding. Just the same, police say 10 more small fires were set last night and during the early hours of this morning, adding to the lengthening list of businesses damaged or destroyed since 2 blacks convicted of murder went to the gallows early Friday morning. Property damage is estimated at several $1 million. Late yesterday afternoon, several hundred black militants gathered here on Court Street, one of this city's black neighborhoods, and attacked unsuspecting whites as they drove through. This car is one of several vehicles damaged or destroyed. Riot police used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd, but it wasn't until heavy rain began to fall that the confrontation between militants and police finally came to an end. These scenes were taken by a local camera crew and reporter who finally had to leave the Court Street area when some of the demonstrators began tossing rocks and bottles at them.
Cut it!
The arrival of the British British troops here is expected to take some of the pressure off riot police, the small contingent of local troops, and firemen who have been on duty almost continuously for nearly 3 days. Gary Shepard, CBS News, Hamilton, Bermuda.
The battle lines are clearly drawn here in the city of Hamilton, where police are now taking action against the arsonist, and also these people have been on the rampage since the dawn executions of Erskine Durant Bach Boris and Larry Winfield Tackman. We're right now just 2 blocks from the police headquarters and the House of Parliament. Moments ago, police pushed back a group of angry youths who were hurling Molotov cocktails. Rick Richardson for TV10 News on Victoria Street. Okay, just walk. You see there's one this side, one on the walkway.
There you have it. A piece of Bermuda history, 1977. We all know that history. Yes, and British military were brought in. So, people, CARICOM, investment, armed defense, as we bear witness to what's going on right now in the Caribbean, we have to ask the question, do we become full members of CARICOM? And as full members of CARICOM, we too become co-partners into this drama that is going on in the Caribbean, whether we want to or not. On that note, next week we will have Burned by Billionaires, Chuck Collins. We'll be having him on discussing his book. And, a lot of the things that we were discussing tonight, really, he places it into context. The role that the billionaires are playing right now in much of what we are experiencing globally. Shortage of housing, high cost of living, all of this drama in the theater of war, all of this. Burned by Billionaires, he addresses some of the things that we're talking about tonight and the role that billionaires are playing in this drama globally. So stay tuned for next week's show. Chuck Collins of the Policy Institute will be joining us virtually in this conversation. So on that note, my people, remember, stop by at the Warwick Workman's tomorrow. Forum continues in terms of addressing the cost of living in Bermuda. Both Commission and others, Neville Darrell, a few others, addressing this important conversation. Keep the peace, people. Be safe on Bermuda's roads. We fight.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now. Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe.